Welcome back, every UniVersus fan around the world watching our third regional for the third week in a row. And now, as we join into the third round, I'm Bear Bryant, joined with my wonderful co-caster, TamCardwell. But before we jump in, we've got a character breakdown. We said we might have it. We do have it. Our players are shuffling up. We've already got a match ready to go. But real quick, Tam and I are going to run through this amazing character breakdown and something a little more familiar of what we see, at least for North American events or US events as well. Pretty standard spread, at least what we've seen comparatively to the past two events, where we saw characters like Godzilla having a 20% almost roughly of the player base or the tournament base. Now coming a little closer now to 10% for these characters. And Godzilla is no longer necessarily number one of the tournament, sharing a slot with, I've been saying it all day, Tam, Pony Tsunotori.
Yeah, I dig this breakdown. There's a couple questions that I have though. Paul Phoenix made a splash over the past 2 weekends, getting themselves a top cut, but Ryu shared the spotlight with them just as well. A character that one of the fighting characters that I did not expect to see on this breakdown. But the big thing I think I'm missing here, man, and everybody keeps talking about it all over the place. Where are the backup decks? Where's the Hanj? Where's the Zeke War Chiefs? Where's the Zeke? What's the second Zeke's name? Hold on.
War Chief?
Not War Chief, the other one.
Zeke Yeager.
Zeke, is it just Zeke Yeager?
Yeah,
I keep forgetting what his backside is. Hey, Zeke, where are they? They made a massive showing inside of the first North American regional, and they're just nowhere to be found. They're inside that 56% of other.
Well, I mean, Tam, Pony Tsunotori's a backup deck. We're playing the Genghis Frog here. That's a backup deck, right? But I 100% agree with you. It's a different conversation than what people have been talking about and what we've even seen, at least in the other two regions that have represented regionals for the past 2 weeks. I think even like the fact that we got to show off Hizuru's Hope, Mikasa Ackerman from AOT 3 on the slice of the pie here, sharing with Paul Phoenix and Ryu. The Ryu kind of makes me happy, but I know a lot of people kind of are a fan favorite of that character coming out of that Challenger deck release. And you still have your tried and trues like Rodans. And I think the number one thing I see here is the story continuing from what I said last weekend, if you were paying attention at the OCE regional. Six-handers kind of really eating good right now, of like feeling comfortable in a format that we exist right now, whether they're doing the backup game plan or you're just a Godzilla deck or you're even this kind of combo control style that we've seen now from Hawks, also not here on the pie chart, but also this Midoriya on the move, right? It's that, ultimatum eventual game plan, but also sharing space with things like heavy hitters and aggro mid-range type decks like of Paul Phoenix and Ryu. It's just like a crazy mix match of all these different game plans. And you're right. The fact that the backup deck characters aren't represented here, but we know that they're in that 56%. I do wonder what this top cut is going to look like, because I do think it's anybody's field and anybody's game to take, right?
Yeah, I think it is anybody's game. We've seen some really incredible games so far with some eclectic characters to boot, but it looks like we are going to get started here with this round. We've got Rodan versus Pony, two characters on the pie chart. Rodan piloted by Ryan DeWolf and Pony piloted by Tim Keefe. Thoughts on this matchup, man?
I think someone and or both, well, obviously not both at the same time. These are seven-handers, Tam. I mean, low life totals are the name of the game. Volatile decisions. One small mishap can lead you to death in 1 or 2 moves, as you look at 22 life here for Pony Tsunotori, 21 for Rodan. Rodan going first here as well is exactly what you want to see happen if you are a Rodan fan, because you might need that one extra turn or two to get a very comfortable stage to have not just the extra speed hate to block a bunch of moves, but the cards in hand that you get to hold on to, because if anyone's going to sling an onslaught of attack after attack after attack, it's the Pony deck, and they can do it on much less foundations necessarily than the Rodan deck can. So I'm excited to see how this is going to go. I very much think it is how much defense does Ryan have access to on the early turns of Tim Keefe's aggressive, the shape of what Pony can be. But we've seen Tim Keefe take aggro characters like Seven Handers to the long game and still have strong success. So I think this match could go either way.
From here, Rodan getting the first attack of the game. That is his privilege as he gets to go first. Opening up with Survey Corps Teamwork. A neat card, 5 mid for 5, gives the next move speed and damage and changes the next 2 cards zones. Pony has to spend horn counters to do that. We get to do that one a little bit for free. So telegraphing here, we've got a little bit of a longer term planned out to utilize the blitz ability of this one. Best case scenario being the rejuice smash that we have in the top card of the pile. But from here, it looks like blocking with Genghis Frog, those amazing secret rares, turtle backups, 0 mid blocks, the buddy blocks back in the game.
Yeah, it's that, that kind of spiritual successor of having access to not necessarily character cards anymore that can give you these 0 mid blocks, but these backups that have such strong abilities that are equivalent to character cards, such as 3 damage to all of your moves. That's what Godzilla does, Tam. So very much functioning as another character fundamentally in your deck. But the Violet Animus Shot, we are seeing the follow-up after that full block come through because Pony is completely tapped out, basically, except for this one face down, which we did play the Breaker 2 on it. So this was a risky Violent Animus Shot to play, but because of Rodan's committability, we kind of had an idea maybe of what was coming on, and we just are trying to get some damage in. And because of the strong on-hit effect of this Violent Animus Shot, it's going to stop some sculpting. But we're going to throw away this low block because the Survey Corps Teamwork changed its zone, and now on the on-damage hit, we're going to remove 1 random card in the Pony's hand. Well, I think there's only 1 left, so it's whether or not they push the button.
Yeah, that's the question, right? A lot of buttons, a lot of responses to be played, and I love the fact that we decided to change it low because if you notice, Pony decided to use their ability on the rival's turn to spend these to discard these cards, and we had a flying elbow drop hit the discard pile along with another card. So we did have a 1 high block waiting in the wings, waiting to block this move. So kind of a perfect storm set up play of the Survey Corps into the high attack. Let's juke it to low, and now your best defensive pieces just aren't available to us. But from here, the scariest turn Pony could possibly have. Turn 2 with Rodan having 2-3 foundations ready. Very scary spot to be in as we see the Hunter's Ally coming in and instantly getting shut down by Filled with Doubt.
Yeah,
Massive.
I was gonna talk about what this attack would be doing here for Tim and this Pony deck, but there's no reason to even talk about it because the Genghis Frog is not coming into our stage because this attack has no text. It is, however, still a 4 high for 5, and one of our most impactful pieces of what the Pony deck is doing. Spoiler alert. It's the name of the deck. It's the character card. We still are going to have access to all of those enhances and pressing those buttons, discarding 2 cards, drawing one new one, getting 2 horn counters. And Rodan still has to block this if they want to save some of their life total. But getting a card out of hand instead of getting the use of that Nonagon, I thought that's what we were going to see get used here. But the hand trap or the hand, piece here of the Filled with Doubt, also in conjunction with one of those foundations we had that we built, Battle for Dominance, getting it out of our card pool to make blocking a little easier, and redraws us a card. It's one of the big reasons why Filled with Doubt plus any symbols with Battle for Dominance is a great combo to have and basically counteracts the downside of Filled with Doubt.
Yeah, totally. Great defensive options here on Rodan's side. And because of these defensive options, it looks like Pony's deciding to put the brakes on, discarding 2 very prominent attack cards, our own Violent Animus Shot and a falling 8% full cowling roundhouse over here. Thank you. It was tough. A lot of words on that one. In order to draw non-attack cards to potentially build out, saying my stage is not good enough to crack your stage, and Barrett, half of it's committed.
Yeah.
Half of it's committed. How much more do you need in order to break through what this Rodan can do defensively? And it looks like love this play.
Yeah. It's the half block here, Rejuvenating Smash, and because we did play that Filled with Doubt as a response to the first attack, typically you don't get this response of the second card being played, the Rejuvenating Smash for that draw 2, gain 2. We were at full, So that game 2 is not going to matter, but it's the cards in hand, Tam. This is what's going to help you continuously chain block if Tim decides to keep going, but it is going to be half blocked here. Going down to 18, we take half of it going, or take the 3, of course, but we still have all of our ready foundations here. We still have our tenacious character ability, and we only have 1 card in our card pool, but that is the breaks. And it's only a build 2 afterwards, Tam. Really having to value these cards to hold on to block with, or to use Pony's ability defensively, it's just hard to tell because already Ryan is very much on the offensive pressure and basically got away from the most volatile turn that they were going to have with great defense.
Yeah, this is really solid gameplay. Every metric of this game right now, Rodan is in the lead. Life total, we've got the stage presence. The only difference here is the fact that Pony has a bonus asset. But I think we're feeling pretty good if you're a Rodan fan at home.
Yeah, and especially speaking of being a Rodan fan, we're seeing some attacks from the past at this event. Not just what we saw, with the overhaul from last round, but repeated 100% smash here. I just love this attack in general. I mean, it is a secret rare from a Daunted Raid. Tam, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many punches you play in your deck. This still is a punch, and so that enhance for ready 1 foundation that has not been ready this combat phase for each punch in your card pool. This is just a crazy, like, worst case scenario, Tam. A 4 difficulty, I'm using air quotes because we get to ready one of our foundations back. 4 high for 6 with powerful and EX on it. That's crazy good.
Yeah, and we got the momentum from the first turn. What an easy way to get the potentially get this tattered costume off the board, pushing this up to a 10 high, all but unblockable for 6 here. If we decide to use the tattered costume, it is going to leave us open to things like that Filled with Doubt that we had last turn. And so it looks like Pony's just going to take it on the chin, dropping all the way down to 9 and a second repeated smash coming in. It makes sense, right? It's not singular 100% smash. It's repeated 100% smash. You got to play at least 2 of them.
Exactly, and now this is the real strength of the card, right? The more punches you have in your card pool, the extra value you get here. We checked a 3 on the first attack. We now checked a 5 on the second attack. Bada bing, bada boom. The entire stage is now ready, and we played 2 very high impact attacks. Pony's down to 9 because that first one connected. We don't have any momentum for this one, Tam, but with the speed on top of what Rodan gives us for this 4 high for 6, I can only imagine Pony's going to go to 3 here.
I mean, there's also the potential of checkmate if we want, or at least check. We have a Supersonic's Flight in our stage, which does give some extra stats as well. I'm pretty sure that's +2, +3, if I'm not mistaken. So
is that or +2 or +2 +4? So you're right. Regardless, that bottom number, the damage being for at least 3, it is representation of that. And because we readied our entire stage, Tam, I would feel pretty good for a sacrifice ability. But Ryan says, no, I'm already winning this game. Hold on to the resource for when I really need it. And how about my last attack that I try and get you in the game with is your best attack in your discard pile, Sweeping Daggers, one of the most iconic and sought after ultra rares from the Critical Role Heroes of Exandria set. I blitz, get to remove 1 attack from your rival's discard pile. This attack gains all abilities, keywords, and keyword rarities printed on the card. Tam, we're playing some good ones. Things like Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken, selective committal of not just your best foundation and freeze it, but also commits an asset. Or, this is the great play, what most people do, I'll also just grab all of your Sweeping Daggers first, gain extra instances of the Blitz ability, and then finally cap it off with whatever attack I wanted to copy anyway with. And now I've removed a certain amount of attacks from your deck in the game for this entire game.
Yeah, this is a very scary spot if you're a Pony fan. There is the resetting of the foundation with this Invisible Infiltration. We can either get rid of a problem card on Pony's board, or even reset one of these face downs to give us a little bit extra. And this is going to represent lethal even on the partial block.
Yeah, exactly, because it's going to get the extra little benefit because it gains all the abilities, and there's just happens to be enough foundations in Pony's stage. Again, Rodan's going to give it a little bit of speed. It's already a 5 speed mid move. And we haven't even really started using our pony counters defensively yet. But as the supersonic flight's going to come in, the enhance that you said, extra stats, it's going to be a high now. So if you didn't have it now, we're now seeing the pony enhance come through. Discard 2 cards, draw a new one, get 2 horn counters. Hope we have a high block here potentially to block this because it originally wasn't a high. Now it is, and it's still for 9 speed.
Looks like we're going to come in for the block. We've got it calculated. Kiyomi coming in. Beautiful 1 high block, but checks a 3. Going to have to commit everything out. If we've got one more, Sweeping Daggers comes in. 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6. It fails. Whoa. We're going to give Pony one more chance to go to the races.
Blowing up that foundation on the supersonic flight because it has to be readied for that sacrifice enhance cost. We had one less foundation. We couldn't pass this move. Tam, like you said, without the supersonic flight enhance, it was already presenting lethal. If we just had that ready foundation here, yes, you would have saved the extra, 2 readied resources for the pony player because Tim checked that 3 to pass the block, but you would have passed the last attack. It's a crazy decision to make that you think you can make because you're so far ahead, but giving 1 extra lease on life for Tim here might be exactly what he needs because you still use your resources offensively. What do you have aside from your character? Well, it's an incubating and this reluctant role model.
-1 speed to every attack, -1 damage to a singular attack. This is going to be a tough spot. And it looks like we're going to be taking this one on the chin, giving it the minus damage. But with the stage that Pony has available to them, they're a ghost. They are supposed to be deceased, and it looks like that is just not the case here. 4 high for 5 coming in, dropping us down potentially to 13 here over on Rodan's side. But this tenacious playable committed character has a ton of options when it comes to speed reduction. So down but not out. There's still plenty of game to be played here in round 3 of this regional.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're already seeing different, tactics here. Of course, we have enough horn counters that we accumulated defensively from pressing our character's ability. So we're starting to spend them offensively, Tam, not just for clearing cards at our card pool, which we'll get to eventually. But we're spending it for the speed increase because we have to fight against that impactful, tenacious ability of Rodan. Whatever the top card of your discard pile is, you can give minus speed equal to his block modifier. On top of the incubating, which we just saw, remove any card from your discard pile for -1 speed, repeatable as we move on with this turn, and we can pick cards like Supersonic Flight to draw us a card as well defensively. They could draw us things like, I don't know, more copies of Filled with Doubt, or I'm thinking of other key defensive pieces that Tim Keefe has to play around this turn because they can stop the turn in its tracks. Things like Barrier Shield, but that tattered costume that we built and secured earlier means that we can't fall for just 1 action hand trap anymore. It's going to have to be like 2 of them in a row if we just start running out of options here. And the Electric Moth is one of the key pieces on how this pony aggression continues. It's not just giving you another instance of an attack to, spin 3 horn counters, clear a card out of your card pool, but it is discard 1 card and draw 2 more. Extra if your opponent has a foundations, but not happening here in this scenario, which means more cards in hand, more cards to discard for Pony.
More cards in hand, more cards to discard, more cards to be played. And I think that's the thing. We've now played 2 attacks, committing no foundations here. And the onslaught continues. The Moth is back out again. Our first 3 check of the turn, and we'll see how else.
They typically matter. I mean, eventually, if you check so many of them, your turn can end. But with things like Mother's Embrace, which can trigger here after clearing a card out of our card pool, but honestly, because of how much you do it in this deck, you don't have to do it here. You can just do it later. It's really only the committing of one of those, but we haven't cleared it yet. We're going back.
We're going a little quick. There's a lot of moving pieces here in both of these characters' decks of when do I move, when do I not move, when do I trigger, when do I not trigger, when do I get counters, when do I not get counters. Electric Moth being very similar to the pony enhanced shape. It's possible that you use Electric Moth and you reach for the die for increase the counters. It's just making sure that everything is in its correct spot, in its correct zone, as we then spend our counters to then re-ready back up.
Yeah, clear the card out, respond with the Mother's Embrace. So although we checked a 3 TAM, we actually only result with 1 committed foundation. Now, of course, because we have to flip the card to do so, we're not going to be able to do that anymore. And these next 3 checks that we might check throughout this turn actually impact how many cards we might be able to pass. But with the amount of cards we just drew off of this single Electric Moth, and Rodan is choosing to block these ones, Tam, these ones aren't for a lot of damage. These are the baits. These are just the setup moves to get more instances of Pony going off. These are not the heavy haymakers that you can end the game with. Things like that one for all full cowling 8% falling roundhouse that we saw one of them get pitched earlier this game. As I'm eating my words and more Electric Moths hit the card pool, though, the world is Tim Keefe's oyster. Whatever he draws from all of these could just end up being the killing blow, as Rodan is now at 13 life from playing great blocks. But I can only imagine we maybe get to play one more for this entire turn. Maybe.
Yeah. This is, again, if you're a Rodan fan, you really wanted that 5 check to happen on the last turn, as another 4 damage move comes in. And again, Pony stage very, very healthy as we continue the onslaught, playing it looks like the 8% full cowling roundhouse.
Oh no, this is the Violet Anima shot that we get to play. Yeah, so it's not necessarily getting any of the response on play abilities, but if this one hits, if it doesn't represent lethal, which in its current form, it is a weapon move. We actually got to use the double Shishiwakamaru Zero Diff Foundation that we get to play. When you play a weapon card, you can flip it over for some extra damage, actually making the Violet Anima shot lethal. And we use a Pony counter to give it some more speed. The Rodan Enhance doesn't matter anymore with 2 cards in the card pool. Game 1 going to Tim Keefe on the Air Pony list, all because Ryan checked that 3 when he really needed anything greater than that.
Stolen. Truthfully stolen from Ryan over here. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we used our sweeping daggers to steal that invisible infiltration ability.
Yeah.
Did we ever reset a foundation?
Wow. Now that you're thinking about it, I don't know if we did. Which
I don't think we did.
Would have just been the extra foundation that we could have done.
I think there were just too many cool words on our cool cards. We didn't get to utilize the best attack inside of my rival's discard pile to reset that foundation, give us that extra resource to close out the game. We gave Pony a fresh breath of life, and it came back to haunt us.
I mean, that allowed Tim Keefe here to what we call a lot breaking serve. Tim didn't win the die roll in this matchup. He went second that game. That was Ryan's game 2 win going first. And now, although Ryan gets to go first again in game 2, we're now in post-sideboard scenarios where things might get a little easier for Tim. Things might also get easier for Ryan, of course. But even if Ryan wins this game 2, Tim, we got 41 minutes on the clock. We can easily crank out 2 more games of UniVersus here. And in one of those games, Tim is going to be able to go first, which is way better for Pony.
Scary. Very, very scary. I mean, hey, we're both big Chapel Roland fans. We are card-carrying members of the Big Pony Club. I love this deck. You love this deck. I think this matchup is very Pony favored right now in the current game. And so not taking down that first game when we were that aggressive and Pony deciding to take that turn 2 off was a godsend. Like, it was really, really awesome for us. But the fact that we missed that control check and we bombed out that check and we lost that match for it means the rest of this is going to be really, really difficult.
But I do think it can happen. I mean, Rodan, Giant Monster in the Sky, Tam, is a character that we have to talk about literally every format. This character is one of the kings of defense right now, and also offense, right? I mean, I know we talk about how impactful he is because of his defensive ability of getting repeatable minus speed with a tenacious character ability and as a 7-hander, but it's also giving speed offensively on such high impact void attacks, because the void symbol has some pretty scary cards to help steal games against very low life characters like Pony with only 22. I'm thinking of things like Ice Sword execution that we've seen have success in Pony or in Rodan lists of the past. I'm thinking Tri-Gravity Beam is still a card that this character is allowed to play, removing cards out of the benefit of being a 7-hander on the third attack of the turn, and you easily get the extra 2 damage on the Tri-Gravity Beams because your character removes cards for you. It's just losing that first game can mean a lot for the momentum shift of what's going to happen here, because not only does Ryan have the pressure of needing to win the second game, you've got to win the third one too. And it's just it we're talking about it, right? Our players are still shuffling up just a little bit. This is a very high caliber event, as we've already talked about with players. And I mean, Ryan is staring across another decorated player of the game, Tim Keefe.
Tammy Two Belts.
Maybe we just got a little nervous, missed a button we couldn't play. I mean, when you think about it, Tam, that Sweeping Daggers had 1, 2, 3, 4 blitzes on it. And then also the enhance abilities from the Invisible Infiltration. There was a lot of words going on. I didn't know which buttons to press, but that's not going to matter, at least in this point right now, as we now kick things off. Ryan going first once again and building 4 solid foundations here. Some great defensive pieces, things like Aaron's Sidestep, Mikasa defeats the female Titan, and a bunch of speed hate. A bunch of enhanced commits for -2 speed, basically.
As well as a little bit of breaker. Like, I know Pony's very good at clearing their card pool, but utilizing the fateful decision in conjunction with a potential breaker from in hand could be enough to slow her down in conjunction with some poor luck of her own. But reviewing a second Mikasa defeats the female Titan, saying, hey, that defensive piece is not what we need. We almost won that game last time due to aggression, and foundations are not the way to get there. I need to be playing some pretty high impact attacks on this next turn. Maybe doubling up on foundations that I already have is not the name of the game. As Ryan looks at his hand pensively, what is the play to make? What is going to make me win this game?
Well, the answer is repeated smash, and we checked a 5 on it, which feels very good, which means you're even allowed to play like a cool little enhance commit ability on a foundation and then get the free ready. We don't have any offensive ones here, of course, so just taking the freebie check, of course, and we have to get some momentum, right? We're already playing these high impact EX and powerful moves, and we saw that be part of the key of the last game, why we almost won on that turn that we went for it because of things like repeated smash. It helps when you land the ones early, get some momentum, and have powerful EXs and powerful abilities to help in the game. And Pony early on in the game is just going to use a lot of their defensive time to accumulate horn counters to maybe have another explosive turn 2. That's one of the benefits of going second as Pony. There's not really a lot of benefits for most characters going second, but it also depends on how many attacks your opponent plays. But just the one poke, building some more foundations afterwards. And we're seeing another impactful one here. Science Bros hitting the table, which this is a card that both of these decks are allowed to play, but we love seeing them in Rodan because not only does Rodan remove a card from your discard pile to get a proc for it, but incubatings then all of a sudden become offensive tools as well as defensive tools, and it also can draw you another card.
Yeah, I know that a lot of times this matchup is really dependent on on who gets Science Bros first and who can capitalize on it. And the fact that we didn't see it from Pony in game 1 at all, yes, it can be built in with the Hunter's Ally, but there's like this hierarchy of which ally cards I need or want in my stage at any given time. And the fact that Rodan has found it, but Pony has not. The percentage points for win rates has gone significantly higher, I think, in Rodan's favor, at least at this point in the game, as the Electromoth comes down, drawing us just a buku amount of cards.
Well, the cool thing here, too, in case you didn't know, there's actually only one copy of Science Bros in Tim Keefe's list, and it's only in the sideboard. So not actually part of the main game plan here that I know that you and I really like here, but really we're saying that the only real ally card I need to build in is a couple of techie defensive ones like Shobujin's Message or the Ryukyu Agency trainees, or the big one, obviously, the Genghis Frog. That's the one we're looking for most. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, this is not only not leading with a Hunter's Ally, there's no Frog still in the stage, but like you said in these matchups, and what I think the benefit of Pony against 7-handers in general is Genghis Frog is a nice addition to this deck and what it's doing, but it does not need it when it's going against 7-handers. You very much can still steal wins from your opponent because you can easily do 7 hand size life total just by playing a bunch of moves without the extra +3 damage. So, and I think that's why we see this have success in the game one that happened when we were gifted that extra chance. But building another tattered costume here in this game two, very, very big. And another one, I know I love this card, Web of Blades. This card is such a cool offensive piece when you're fighting against a bunch of stat negation or speed decrease, damage decrease, which we've seen already in this matchup. Reluctant Role Model minus damage. The character Rodan itself minus speed. Being able to give a little bit of that juice back when you send the attack. Love seeing a card like that hit the board here. But we have to survive another turn here, Tam. Another repeated smash has hit the board.
Yeah, it's tough. And again, we're checking well on it this time rather than last time. No need to reset these foundations. And because of it, we have the opportunity to do one of the coolest plays in this Rodan deck. We could then from here remove this this ability to respond with our Science Bros, give it the extra speed, the extra damage, draw the card. And then since we haven't readied anything up, let's just, let's give it the let's ready back up and reuse it on the next ones. But it looks like up to 10 damage, it appears on this move, saying checks can't be modified, so no breakers coming in over on Pony's side.
Yeah, which actually kind of matters, right? We saw the Shobujin's message get used last game, so it says if any of those get built in, at least while we're doing this kind of thing. Obviously, not on the stage right now, but you're right. I mean, stopping against Breaker just matters a whole lot. We've seen the Violent Anima shots already. That has Breaker inherently on it. But the second attack of the turn, Rejuvenating Smash, gaining some life back. Not that we had any really to gain. And then, of course, drawing 2 more cards. And if we find a way to discard a card during this attack, we can also sneak a momentum. But currently, nothing on board that lets us do that. So this is going to be a very high value 4 mid for 6. Extra speed from Rodan, of course. And Pony's at 6.
Yeah, this is representing check. How many horn counters are we going to be allowed to use to play the game defensively? Because the more horn counters you use defensively, the less you're able to do offensively to fight back against the giant monster in the sky.
Fixing the zones here, we had it listed as a high. It was actually a mid, and we have this incredible 0 mid block. We checked a 3. Only have to tap 1 foundation, though, because we used some speed hate from our horn counters. Easy, complete block. But here's one of those attacks I was talking about. Try Gravity Beam. This one is very potent. It's very easily going to get up to 7 damage because of our character, 8 because of the Science Bros, and we get to selectively rip a card out of our opponent's hand as long as we pay the Sacrifice of Foundation cost, which means we get to grab any mid blocks that happen to be right here, like a Sweeping Daggers. But
wow,
not all is lost here, Tam. We do have Pony who can change the zone of an attack to make your block actually work. But getting that
Shobujin's message is a 4 mid block.
Yes, it is. It is a 4 mid block. But it still says we can try. And the other thing that I think is big and key from this Try Gravity Beam Enhance being the first thing that we pressed, you don't have 2 cards in your hand anymore as Pony. You physically can't get more horn counters. You're stuck with the ones you have right now for the rest of this turn.
Yeah, it's, man, very, very high impact Try Gravity Beam here. To the point where if we decide to even put the speed up at all, we use Rodan, we use the Science Bros, just committing the moment of normalcy is well enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's exactly why we were posturing that we were going to spend some horn counters. And Tim said, no, actually, I'll pass my enhance because I can at least currently block it. If it's a 4 mid, it's on a 9. I can check a 5 and tap out, right? But once you start pressing these other buttons that are, I'm going to give it some more speed. Instead, I'll use my 3 horn counters to clear a card out of my card pool, which is good for blocking. And then because we have a push the advantage, we can draw a card off of the clear effect, and we could draw a better card. If anything, just a second card, which gives us more horn counters to still have the minus speed ability or the zone change.
That's massive. That's so huge. 8 for 8, I believe, is what we're showing here. And we have to make the decision. Do I help guarantee make my check happen by reducing the speed with my horn counters, or do I go for the full block because I believe we drew 2 low blocks in our hand? We do 2 low blocks, and one of them has breaker on it, which if you remember all the way back to the first attack, no breakers matter. If there's another attack coming, If it finds 6, it is checkmate either way.
And I think he's really wanting to save this moment of normalcy in case there is another attack after this Tam. But if we end up pulling up a half block, I don't think that its reset's going to matter at all for damage. It's only going to matter for speed. So it looks like we're going to press the button right now to reset this attack's damage back, putting it to 5, which means this is going to send Tim Keefe down to 1. There has to be another move to even attempt to present lethal. Are we going to see
I think
it?
that's what we're going for. Oh,
This is a good
love
one.
it. World's weakest hunter. He might be the weakest hunter, but weak means at least 1 with a base 5 mid for 3. Man,
That's exactly what you need right here, right? And the fact is that we checked not only a 5, but a +3 block modifier on top of our discard pile, which means he's going to get +4 speed total because of the science bros. Damage doesn't matter anymore at this point, Tam. I'm looking at that speed number, and this has gone up to 9, and we're only have 2 ready foundations in our character for Tim's side. We press the pony enhance. We're doing the math. He goes, even if the -2 speed, it's not enough. Game 2, going to Ryan DeWolf, pulling it out and not getting rid of this one. We're going to game 3 for the match.
and scored a perfect. Pony,
Yeah.
the 7-hand size aggressive character that we keep going, oh no, this matchup is so hard. We didn't touch our life total at all as Rodan. He said, I'm at 21. I'm going to stay at 21. Man, all these rejuve smashes are basically just draw 2s. There's no life gain to be had. What a clinic. What a showcase over here on Ryan's side representing Rodan.
That's what we wanted to see, right? And that, I think, was the benefit. What we also saw from game 1, Tam, it just didn't quite go our way, but we slowed down a little bit. We pressed all of our buttons. I think we played basically perfectly here for Ryan because, and we checked a little bit better, of course, so it helps a lot. But we got that poke in, we got that momentum, we moved things up. The next repeated smash, we countered breaker. There was so many things that I think Ryan played that game impeccably well, adjacently to how we played game 1. But here is the real test. If you're a Rodan fan, or if you're Ryan DeWolf trying to move on and become 3-0 after this round, we're going second, which the partial mulligan helps Rodan a lot. You could see a potential of like a build 5, build 6 even, because of finding the lower difficulty foundations, like the incubatings, to pair with the higher difficulty 2 diff cards like the Aaron sidesteps that we saw already. You could build a pretty hefty stage here, Tam, and your character being ready is really nice. But Pony gets to go first. We could see some crazy, they get to play the first attack of the game. And I think that matters a lot when it comes to setting the pace, because more than likely, Tam, because of the incredible defense we're seeing Tim pull off for the 7-hander that is typically all gas, no brakes, you're going to put Rodan on the back foot a little bit more of using their resources, while Pony gets to kind of start the pace of the game.
Yeah, this is I'm really, really excited for this matchup. I think just like most games of UniVersus, first 2 turns are going to be really high impact. What do you keep? What do you get rid of? Going first, the full mulligan versus the partial. Looks like Tim saying that one was not good enough. And from the peak that I saw, I totally agree. I thought it was a little rough.
Meanwhile, on the other side, I don't know how many cards we partialed for the going second ability, but one of the key cards I saw in Ryan's hand that is going to help them stabilize on that turn 2 that could come through from Tim Keefe's, we have a barrier shield in hand, I think, for the first time this match. So the question is, do we build a tattered costume early, or do we not have an answer necessarily for us attempting to attack, and we might get barrier shielded right off the bat? Oh, we're flipping cards over.
We don't have the luxury of what? We don't have the luxury of repeated smash for stopping this check hacking from happening. But massive check up. Okay. One more, check a 5. Oh, what an insane
wow
stage here. 4 foundations, one of which is a code edit, which we haven't even really talked about, into a cape, and we know there's a barrier shield in hand. If Pony pulls off the turn 2 kill through this stage, I want her to be errated before the tournament ends.
I think that's a fair point, but I was going to say that Pony deck, especially on the air symbol, does have tools to get through these powerful foundations and assets. Things like Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken, but that's not the lead here. It's just an Electric Moth, which this is like the scariest part I think about when Pony goes first, Tam, is that you get to lead with these Electric Moths. No matter what you check, you have no idea as the receiving end of this play of is there actually more gas coming after this, or is this just the I'm just using this as one attack to generate some horn counters and then build out a massive stage to then go for the crazy turn 3 play, which I think is important, right? Because if that means any of these tools like barrier shields or as we're seeing here, a filled with doubt, you feel pretty good as the pony player if they're getting used right now when this could easily just turn into a I'm playing this to draw more cards, build pass.
Yeah, that makes total
Oh,
sense. Looks like we're going to be going in for the put it to 0, and we are saying, hey, your turn is absolutely done as 0 breaker, and then the high block comes in, putting Rodan to 0 cards in hand, but saying because of this breaker, there's just going to be nothing that you can do about it.
yeah, I mean, and especially, luckily we had a 1 difficulty foundation, but we did check a 3 on it, which means we checked a 1 and it was on a 2. So we did have to commit 1 foundation from that breaker ability. But again, if I'm Pony here and if I'm just going to be building foundations afterwards, I got a filled with doubt, a barrier shield, and an ice sword execution all out of that from my 1 attack that just drew me a bunch of cards. I'm feeling pretty good. It just depends on how many cards we just choose to build. And we only built 2 foundations total afterwards. So the rest of our hand must be pretty aggressive, or we're trying to generate as many horn counters depending on how many attacks Ryan is going to play.
Yeah, feels like we are not firing on all cylinders here. As we play
Sweeping, I think.
this, it is sweeping. Good
Yeah.
call. It was tough to see. As we play this, sweeping daggers here, stealing Kraken, committing down the best defensive pieces or even best offensive pieces that that pony could possibly represent. This as one of these pokes is just as relevant as any other.
Yeah, and we even fanned through our discard pile, see if we could get some extra burn damage through. Remember, we did leave Tim at 1 life one of these games, so that extra burn could come through, could matter a lot. But you're right. I mean, which moves can we grab? What high impact things are we doing, such as this commit on this creative counter? Of course, not going to have access for that tool for 2 whole turns now, right? And so how many pieces are you going to have access to? It's crazy because or not crazy, I should say, but like if we were afraid of breaker, this is very much posturing that this is just the poke for the turn because I think hitting that Shobujin's message might have mattered quite a bit, but when the block just fails, doesn't really matter.
Makes sense to me. And a second sweeping coming down, and we just conveniently put a sweeping in the discard pile to be stolen, and then a bonus. Those dirty thieves from Critical Role helping out Rodan implicitly. Another Kraken is so huge to slow down the potential offensive capabilities that Pony's going to push back on the next turn. And still, we've done all of this, and we haven't used these defensive pieces on Rodan's side. They're still going to stick around, and this board is only going to get bigger and bigger and healthier to defend out the onslaught.
All of a sudden, it is starting to get very scary for Tim Keefe and the Pony player because it's not just that the sweeping daggers grabbed double Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken and we froze 2 of our pieces, right? Those Vast Hybrid Chimera Krakens are gone for the entire game. And this is game 3.
Yeah.
So for the whole match. And that was one of the key pieces I said could help us get through things like this code edits if it wasn't used right away on the Vast Hybrid, or the things like this Cape of No Return. And 2 of them are now gone 100% from the game. That means even if you were trying to get to a cycle to eventually to get through those pieces, they just don't exist in your deck anymore. So I don't know exactly what the line is going to be for Tim to kind of recover here, and especially when they try Gravity Beam coming in on a 4/5/6, checking a 4, making a decision what we want to commit here. We're also going to we're going to rip a card out of Tim's hand as well. It's getting really bad really fast.
Yeah, this is a scary spot to be in as this gets very fast, very quick. I don't even necessarily know if we want to rip the card out of the hand because of how weak this stage is. Please use more horn counters to reduce the speed of this. This is going to be a 5 for 7. You're going to have to check well, and I'm just going to keep my stage nice and healthy.
Using and incubating here offensively, though, I think is what we're looking at. Maybe just for that supersonic flight to draw a card, but I think we're second guessing it, which is fine. If you feel like that Tim's going to block it anyway, and maybe you feel like 4 speed is good enough after Tim already attempted to use the +1 mid block from that sweeping daggers and failed that one, how many more of those do you actually have? But instead, it is this electric moth. Checking the 5 here means that we are going to get the block off because we didn't do any extra work. Staying at 14, and I can only imagine there's probably no more attacks coming from Ryan. And you're right, it is a pretty weak stage, aside from the strong abilities, Tam. But size-wise, we probably need to make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but it looks like build one pass is all we're going to be able to muster here. Getting our 2 momentum, which is going to be massive for later turns. That repeated 100% smash being key players in the first 2 games of this match, as Pony draws up with only 4 ready foundations and no real way to re-ready them unless we can build in some Kiyomis to start healing our board.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? When you stare across that code edits, the idea is you've already seen the filled with doubts come out in this match, right? Like, and you got one out in the first turn. That's awesome. But when you stare at the code edits, that one's on the board. So even if you want to try and play things like this Hunter's Ally in our hand to build in a Genghis Frog or a Kiyomi, like you said, to make our stage a little healthier, we have to get past, powerful abilities that we're trying to get through. This is a good one to bait out, though. This is a high impact blitz. Another sweeping daggers coming from Tim here. Is this the one you code edits? We're going to take a look at our own discard pile, see what they potentially have access to touch. It looks like we're going to let this one go. Or, I mean, I guess I got to look at the cost. Sorry. I mean, it's blitz colon. So if we let Tim remove this card, the blitz ability has gone,
Yeah, it is Blitz colon, and this is from here. Let's commit down some pieces. Hey, Ice Sword execution not quite as potent as Hacker is in this scenario, but now that code edits is no longer an option. It's no longer on the table, and it looks like we are instantly going to get rid of this with that cape.
That was
Very
essentially the same
gun-shy.
result for playing a Vast Hybrid, Tam. We were either going to tap the cape, but you get it back because I was only going to tap it, or I would have gotten the code edits use out. We didn't get the code edits use, and we got the cape out of the way. The card pool's clear. This is the prime opportunity to play something like that Hunter's Ally, but if we check a 3 here, it could be disastrous.
Looks like that's not happening. Checking the 5 to build in one of our ally pieces. And I don't hate the aggressive use of the cape here, and here's why. We didn't let Pony have extra horn counters, filter that hand, get rid of cards that they do want, to then build back in cards that that they would want. You didn't let the engine fully function. You put the wrench in it and said, "Hey, I wasn't going to block this anyways. Let's deal with it as it is."
Let's talk about it now because the frog has hit the board. 3 damage on all of your attacks. It's an elusive backup. It's a little sticky, a little harder to remove. And +3 damage to all of your moves is something that Pony wasn't doing in the past. The fact that the amount of attacks that this character can already unload in 1 turn, now that they all get +3 damage, it says you basically have to play half of the amount of attacks you had to play before, and we are against a 7-hander. So if it was already we won game 1 without needing the frog, now that we have the frog on board and your opponent's stage is pretty weak right now, I think it could be very scary very quickly now for Ryan, and all of a sudden I keep changing my mind on how this match keeps feeling.
Yeah, with Genghis Frog, it's very easy to trip and fall into a KO, especially with now how weak Rodan's board is. 21 is not quite the detrimental number that it looks like, but incubating, giving it even more minus speed, 0 high, and grabbing an extra block, saying, I need to batten down the hatches. I know that I'm about to have to weather a storm as we go in for a block.
I think it's a sidestep, full block.
Yeah.
And we checked a 5, of course. As we are now playing a second attack here, this is a flying elbow drop from our remove from game pile. I believe we had set it aside already. So this isn't even using a card in our hand. And we talked about how, how do we feel about this one? This little 4 high for 4, but is extra reach when you are using your Pony Enhance. But now it's actually a 4 high for 7 because of the Genghis Frog. But we checked a 3 on it. making our stage even worse for Tim here. But at least that Mother's Embrace is going to look a little bit better. We have 2 ready foundations on our character, which is still enough to break through 21 life.
Yeah, 3 of these flying elbows uncontested, and that is curtains for Rodan. And so we do need to make sure that we are very careful of the moves that we are deciding to block or not deciding to block, because this health total could dwindle down pretty quickly as we are looking to potentially tie up this game.
Yeah, but as I'm getting, yeah, we're going for the Pony Enhance right here, discarding 2, being very, very, this is a big decision, right? I mean, every time you press the Pony Enhance, I know most of the time when you see it happen, you're like, oh, I drew the Feral Shrieks, I drew the Wish Hards, those ones go. When you don't draw those, Tam, it's a real decision on what you choose to get rid of, because it could be a block zone that you actually needed. It could be a foundation that would have changed the game if you built it. And the reality is, when you're not getting a bunch of bonus extra draws, you are also losing a full card in your hand while doing this. So that's the kind of scenario that we're in right now. And that's why we had to be very sure about what cards we pitched there from Tim, why he took it back. We did it again. We're back up to 3 counters, but this is pretty easy to block, being a 2 high, or 0 high, actually.
Yeah, on the 4, checks the 5, and a massive one with the supersonic flight, getting -4 speed, as well as the extra stats, getting away from that turn unscathed, showing off exactly what Rodan does, flying above the danger, getting above the threat, not caring about what this cute little pony is going to do on the ground.
Yeah, but it's now up to the onus of Ryan to still put up an offensive threat. 14 to get through is quite a bit. And it looks like we didn't draw enough. Or, of course, the classic I got baited. We played a cape, which is a great tool again to build down after we've already used one of them. Plays the rejuvenating smash on a 6, but we checked the 3, Tam. This can sometimes be the reason why Rodan decks just die, because you played this attack to get the value of drawing 2 and gaining 2. We were at full, spoiler alert, we didn't gain the 2. We're just trying to get more cards in our hand, but we had to commit basically half of our stage. Our character and 2 foundations, we're just left with 3 foundations that we want to keep ready. That's scary territory.
Yeah, using the incubating offensively to remove the supersonic to redraw -1 speed down to 3. We're going to give it a little bit of extra juice. And more importantly here, it was very obvious that as the opponent player, we didn't have the gas last turn. So we're going to be getting a ton of extra value here, getting rid of these bad foundation cards out of our hand and regaining these horn counters that we spent previously. A 5 high for 6, 3 high for 6 using Pony as EX3 pops off here. But more importantly, putting double sweeping daggers in the discard pile for Pony to potentially use and steal some daggers of her own.
Yeah, I mean, but that EX coming in clutch here, I was so focused on the repeated smash having EX and powerful, but of course, rejuvenating smash having EX on its own, you can almost guarantee that this is landing, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 6 off the top, meaning down to 8 for Tim, which is normally 2 attacks in this deck, at least at face value. Ice Sword Execution could maybe do it, but we don't have a momentum anymore, so it'd have to be some crazy stolen attack from like a sweeping daggers. But after checking that 3 on this, I can only imagine we're just trying to build and stabilize a little bit more, as here comes a hacker.
Yeah, I like the adaptation here. I like the switch up. It's very easy in UniVersus when we are such a heavy draw game of I'm gonna draw X. I look at my hand, I see what my initial game plan is, and then I stick to my guns even when it doesn't make sense after the control checks happen. So the fact that Ryan had the know-withal to change the pace of the game and go instead, there could be 4 more attacks in Ryan's hand, and it is not the 8 damage. It's not worth the risk. Let's build out our stage and survive the storm. We did it last game. Let's do it again.
And this is the best that Ryan's stage has looked all match. Uh, we built 5 after doing that. So, I mean, we checked a 3, yeah, of course, but we checked well on our build afterwards. Those 3 high impact foundations that we didn't commit to pass those checks of the rejuvenating smash stayed ready, and we built a bunch of stuff. We built a hacker, we built another speed hate or improvised noble, we built double Botans and that cape that we led the turn off with, of course, and we still have defensive tricks of our own, things like this Genkai's Guidance coming in pretty early on as an extra use of negating an entire attack, Tam, just like this cape is going to do.
Yeah, this is essentially -2 hand size now. And again, the big thing here is it has stopped Pony from entering the enhanced step to filter out the foundation cards to draw more attack cards. So unless we're sitting here with 6 attacks in our hand and are ready to pop off, we're slowing it down the machine. We're gunking up the mechanism, and potentially asking Pony to build again. And it looks like that's the plan: build 1, build 2, pass. As we send it back over to Rodan, surviving all of the back of this one action. Lack of tattered costume says that we kind of get away scot free.
Yeah, it looks great. If you're a Rodan fan, again, it's still at full life, and because you did hit with that very fast rejuvenating smash last turn, you cashed in on that EX, you got yourself another momentum here, but now you only have to deal with 8 health on the side of Pony. That is one powerful enhance from a rejuvenating smash, presenting lethal right off the bat. We still have to think about we have Botan's coachings. It's to the point here, Tam. We're kicking things off with the rejuvenating smash, and I think we're actually going to see the other enhance of this attack get pulled off here because we've built these Botan's coaching. If we discard a card during this attack, we get to add the top card of our deck to our momentum face down. That's 2 more momentum, or 2 total, for a double EX that we could see being a lot of speed that Pony has to deal with. We find a way to give this 2 damage. It's lethal, or if anything, knocks Pony down to 2. This game is getting very close to being over, I think.
Not to mention that the card we decided to discard here was the Supersonic Flight +4 speed to this move, instantly pushing it up to 8, and then redrawing the card, just trying to find more gas with not just the draw off the Botans, but also the Supersonic itself. If you are in Tim Keefe's position, I think the orange sirens are going off. Not quite the red flag, but oh man, is it close.
Yeah, and I mean, we our stage also looks the best it's ever looked. At least if you're a Pony fan, and we have enough foundations here. But like you said, the fact that this is going to get so fast, and we're just still getting so much value, regardless if you press the EX on this move or not, Tam, it's already so fast. It's not lethal, sure, but it has set us up is going to give us another momentum, and the world is our oyster. We played all the cards that we saw last turn. We have a second rejuvenating smash. I'm going to draw 2 more cards, and I checked a 5. And we still have a Botans. This could get us a third momentum with 3 instances of EX plus our character's ability. I don't know how you get out of this. I'll be honest.
Yeah, this is looking like checkmate. I'm racking my brain. Yeah, we've got -4 speed with Pony and the sidestep.
Yeah, -4 total. That only answers basically, 1 Rodan enhance, but we're dumping all of the momentum. Of course, we got that bonus one. We pressed the Botan's coaching. We're getting everything done. We still have 7 horn counters to play through, but when we only have access really to -2 speed here and maybe zone changing it, it looks like we're sticking it out. We didn't grab the extra one first. We grabbed it later, which means that there's still even more to come, Tam. You still have to answer this 6 speed move for lethal. Can't half block it. You have to full block this move.
And it looks like the frog is the best way to make it happen. 0 mid block comes in, and we play the move. Here's the question for you: do you creative counter right now just to get rid of this frog, save your horn counters?
Yeah, I mean, too late now, right? I mean, regardless, as we go into the repeated smash, and I think this is just getting even scarier because even like this again has EX as well. And now we have 3 punches in our card pool. We checked pretty poorly on this, of course, but we ready 3 or more of our foundations up that haven't been readied this turn. 4 ready foundations. We can pass any attack basically if we wanted to as Ryan. So again, Tim is presented. Here's an attack that's going to be for lethal. I'm going to try and make it as fast as possible while we do so. And along those ways, there could still be another move after this.
Yeah. Massive string, spinning the horn counters to clear out our progressive, essentially -1 speed to every single attack. And I will notice we didn't use the Shobagens on that block.
Yep.
We decided not to, which might have committed out that last foundation and maybe Rodan. It could be the difference maker between do we win, do we lose? What do we have here as a -1 speed comes in with incubating ?
Yeah, looking for offensive incubating. But first we're gonna press the EX. I think this is probably the better play because that block modifier that we've put on top of our discard pile is much better than that block modifier we had from the rejuvenating smash. So as long as but we've already pressed all the buttons. Again, another 6 high with a Kiyomi block. Checking the 3 here is gonna be really rough for passing it as we have to tap 4 of our foundations, and now the breaker 2 coming in here because this didn't get up to 10 damage, but the violent animus shot on a 4, 5, 6, 7, -2 to the check. We checked a 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again,
It
Tim Keith
fails.
surviving another turn.
What is happening? Man, that was an absolute showcase of everybody sees Pony as this 7-hand size aggro character, but in the hands of a master player like Tim Keefe, really showcasing the fact that you have a character that has -2 speed on every single move, cardpool clearing defensively, and is allowed to redraw their hands. We are moving into this turn having cycled now with 5 horn counters in a completely ready stage, and Rodan looking distraught over there with the choices that we have. That, man,
Game
is
1.
so tough.
Game 1, going first as Rodan, losing that game because of barely surviving and checking a 3 when we needed to check a 5 to go for the win, and we failed it. The fact that that just happened again right here, the checking the 3 part. The game isn't over, of course, but you are seeing flashbacks, Tam, right now, that if Pony starts to present any sort of offense, you could think that this could quickly become the end of this match, but we still have some tricks, of course. We failed that attack, but we still had so many cards in our hand, from the Botans finding the good ones, the second rejuvenating smash drawing us 2 cards, and we failed our attack. We didn't even get to build foundations afterwards. So we have cards in our hand, like this Filled Without, which is an extra answer to deal with things like this invisible infiltration, which means we get to keep our cape and our coat edits still alive.
Yeah, 21 is still a large number for this character to get through. Yes, we've got +3 damage on every single move, but some pretty specific blocks over on Rodan's side, not to mention, like you said, the cape and the code edits to come in. I love the Filled with Doubt here, not letting Pony refresh some of these key important pieces. I think we still have a fight on our hands. That 3 check is not the end of this game. And I love the fact that Ryan is fighting to the last breath, saying, hey, every single play, every single enhance, every single response matters, and I'm going to make you find it.
I think the biggest thing here that is, yeah, you feel a little rough that this got Filled with Doubted, but this one attack that you started things off with this turn as Pony, you still got to the enhanced step, and now there's 2 cards in the card pool here for Rodan. If there's one way to kill a Rodan, it's just get enough cards in their card pool to where their minus speed doesn't matter anymore, Tam. And now we're playing an Electric Moth. This is not really a move that you care to block, but with the extra 3 damage from the Genghis Frog, this is 1/3 of Rodan's life. And we have 2 cards in our card pool. The question is, what's the first enhance here from Tim? If it's Pony, we get more horn counters, but we maybe lose a card total in our hand. If it's the Electric Moth, we go up with cards in our hand, but if we get caped, we've lost the opportunity to generate more horn counters. So, I mean, we're basically deciding right now in between these enhances. And it looks like
what matters? What's the order that we do it in? Yeah.
We said we're going to block this one. We gave it minus speed, which means we get to press the Pony enhance, which one of the cards that we discarded was that flying elbow drop. Wait, is that the one?
I think we
just did the one.
Moth. We just did it on
Moth.
Moth.
That's not how that card works.
That's not how that card works.
Yeah, we have to discard elbow with 2 things total. And then that means, because you can't pay the remove costs, I think, if you don't do that, right? So it just goes to the discard pile. We're getting that correction from the judge there. Love that, getting involved. But, I mean, Tim, I think right now, beating himself up a little bit because that is an attack right? We could have done with something else. Could that be the reason why we don't have another attack at all?
Yeah, that is the question. Unlike, I think I see some orange in hand, but either way, it could be the thing that the extra attack over the top that says the cape is now relevant and online as the partial block comes through this early in the chain. I'm sure Tim would have loved to have an extra 4 high for 7 at minimum to be played.
Yeah, easily passes because it was
successfully played.
-2, by the way. But the half block here is massive because that is telling me at least right away, Tam, that, oh, you don't have any high blocks. And
Yeah.
spoiler alert, Tam, the majority of the zone of the attacks in this pony list are high. That
Yeah.
elbow drop now looking even a little worse of I'm really kind of biting myself in the butt for not having that. Oh my gosh, do we see the world? Okay, I was wondering if there was a world where we flashed our own violent animus shot here so that we couldn't get caped. But we are finally getting that cape used defensively here. But our first enhance was still the pony enhance, giving us a new redraw, trying to find some more moves, getting some more cards in our hand. And here's a second violence animus shot. If you didn't like that first one, you're gonna hate the second one. It's still going to come up with the 3 damage. And now, again, you've shown your hand here. If you're Ryan, you didn't have a high block for the electric moth. Where's the high block for the violent animus shot?
Yeah, that's the question. And I think the answer is it's just not going to exist. We're going to go for another partial block going down from 3 cards. The block will let us have 2. The rip was going to take us away from 1. And I've peeked the future. I think we've got a bomb in hand that if successfully played is going to be checkmate.
I can only imagine it is something like an 8% full counting roundhouse that you're talking about, which is an attack that we'll talk about if we have to get to it. But extra damage on this. Remember, it's a weapon. We got to do some Shishi Wakamaru Foundation responses to give this some more damage. This is up to 11 right now because you postured again that you didn't have a high block for the electric moth. Taking half of 11 means a lot more in this match than taking half of just the 8. We are still pressing, giving more minus speed, it looks like, from the Fateful Decision here, not using the breaker ability, it looks like. So the question here is it a high block? Or is it just another mid as we clear another card out of Tim's card pool?
Yeah, high block here would be really, really high impact. Because I think if we just like lose the card in hand, I think if we have 2 more attacks, we certainly have the ability to play them. I just think they're going to be unblockable with 4 cards in our card pool, as this is now on a 3. No, this is on a 5. I'm
1,
crazy.
2, 3, 4, 5, checking a 3, which means we commit everything but the code edits. It's going to deal half. We pick a random one, even odd. Goodbye, low block. Didn't really matter, at least from the cards that we've seen so far, but I think it's time, Tam. I think you're right. I think we are seeing potentially the big ones of this match. Nope, just kidding. It's the Hunter's Ally, the tried and true. It's still going to come in with the 3 damage, but it's not currently presenting lethal. 5 base plus those. Response on play for plus 2 more. Goes up to 10, which is 1 off. But we have a Nejire enhance, destroy a
This is lethal.
foundation. It is lethal. We show the hand. It's game. Can't pass the block. The match to Tim Keefe on Air Pony.
Man, the back and forth that this match had was pins and needles. I was on the edge of my seat literally the entire time as both players are playing these like really aggressive lines with each other. And the Rodan deck, known for playing these really defensive lines, played really aggressively. And that defensive turn from Pony, blocking 4 moves while at 8, dropping all the way down to 2, only letting 1 move in, completely flipping the script on how both these characters are played. If you were not a believer at the start of this, you were saying during the breakdown, 6 hand size is king. 6 hand size in a great position. After watching that match, how can you not say the same about these 2 7-handers?
It's obviously very different when you watch 2 7-handers go against each other. It very much changes the dynamic of the game and how high impact each individual move is, as we saw at every point during this match. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, single digit health, a block or a check just mismatched, and it's the reason why you lose. It goes both ways. But I think the biggest thing to note here, and what I think Tim showcased incredibly well, as well over here on the Rodan, is that the amount of defensive capabilities you have, whether you're playing Rodan, the defensive king, or the immaculate defensive plays that Tim was able to pull off with Pony, which is typically characterized as, even I've said it multiple times already on the broadcast, an aggro 7 hand size character. But the reality is that a lot of these enhances of Pony are modal. They go both ways. You can change the zone of your opponents or your own moves. You can give +2 speed to yours or -2 speed to your opponents. You can clear cards not just on your turn while attacking, but also defensively while blocking. A little bit of defense goes a long way in this format. and it just was enough for Tim Keefe, taking it down here in round 3, moving on to 3-0, but we still have a whole lot more tournament to play. Tam, I'm excited for more. I'm going to be shoved away for a little bit, but if that was just round 3 and what we've already seen from rounds 1 and 2, this event